So welcome back. First day of F1 testing is now finished. So I'm just going to go over quickly some of the incidents that happened as well as the times, lap counts, and just kind of go over what I thought happened today. So early on in the morning, lots of installation laps starting with 7 to 8 drivers out at a time. Then the first big incident of the day, Drugovich stopped out on track. It seemed like, and there was a red flag shortly afterwards, it seemed like it was some kind of electronics issue. The car just stopped, so they had to bring the car back on a truck. And that was very early in the session. That was almost like 7 minutes into the day, and it was about 8-minute length red flag. So Aston Martin went to go get the car from one end of the pit lane. Cars are back on track. So after the first hour, lap times were, first was Sainz with a 1:33.76, second was Verstappen with a 1:34.895, and third was Gasly with a 1:36.0. The leaders for the lap counts were Verstappen with 18 laps, and then Sainz, Russell, and Tsunoda all had 14 laps. Drugovich got back on track about 50 minutes later, so 50 minutes after he stopped initially, so about an hour and a bit into the session. There was some debris on track, possibly from Hülkenberg's floor or his front wing, not entirely sure. They said that it was possibly because of him going over some of the curbs. Let's see, so end of the second hour, lap time again, Sainz was first with a 1:33.2, Verstappen second with 1:33.5, and Albon third with a 1:33.6. And the lap count leaders were Sainz and Verstappen, both with 31 laps, and Gasly with 30 laps. Showing, they were saying that there was a bumpy ride for Sainz, so maybe some porpoising, but I know there's a big bump at the end of the main straight, so that was causing the cars to look like they were porpoising, even if they were not. Some more work being done on Gasly's car. Third hour, not a lot happened, and then at the end, so for the end of the morning, the leaderboard was as follows. So Verstappen first with a 1:32.959, 71 laps completed. Third, Sainz, 3/10 behind, 72 laps. Third, Albon, 7/10 behind, 74 laps. Fourth, Joe, 7.5 behind, 67 laps. Russell, 1.2 behind, 69 laps. Sixth, Hülkenberg, 1.4 behind, 51 laps. Seventh, Drugovich, 1.6 behind, and 40 laps. Eighth, Tsunoda, 1.7 behind, 46 laps. Ninth, Gasly, 1.8 behind, 60 laps, and 10th, Piastri, 1.9 seconds behind, 52 laps. So that was the morning session. So in between the morning and the afternoon session, 9 of the 10 teams, so all the teams except Red Bull, changed their driver lineup. So some of them had to come back in a bit early to make some of the adjustments that they needed with the seat, so changing the seat and changing the pedals. So I meant that Verstappen kind of had quite a few laps at the end where it was basically just him driving. Of course, the other really big point from testing is that Stroll, it was announced earlier this week that Stroll would miss all of testing because of a bike crash he had earlier this week. And we of course don't know the specifics about the severity of the injury or how that will affect him for next race, for the race next week. So I think it seems like they're giving Drugovich today just in case that they need a driver next week, but it has not been confirmed as of recording whether or not he will be driving again tomorrow or on Saturday. So afternoon sessions, so mostly C2s, C3 tires in the afternoon. Let's see, so Norris had some kind of issue with his running over some curbs. Ocon had a wobbly mirror, a wobbly wing mirror. Alonso had some issues with the floor. He had to come in for quite a bit because he was having issues with the floor of his car. And then it seemed like McLaren were struggling with brake issues again, but it turns out that it looked like maybe it was a manufacturer fault with the wheel brow, so the part of the wheel that kind of like hangs over the top of the part of the car that hangs over the top of the wheel. Maybe a small front wing issue for the Alfa Romeo. But yeah, it seemed like that part of the car wasn't working quite as properly for McLaren. So let's see, I'll go over the lap counts for each hour because it's interesting to see how that changes, I think. So after the first hour, Verstappen was ahead for 24 laps, of course just for the afternoon, not including his morning total. De Vries had 18 laps, and then Leclerc and Bottas had 17 laps each. After the second hour, with 2 hours to go, it was Verstappen led with 44 laps. Sargent had 37 laps, and De Vries had 34 laps. And with 1 hour to go, Verstappen had done 64 laps, Sargent had done 58 laps, and De Vries had done 4 laps. So the total final classification after all 8-ish hours of testing today, I'm very tired, was first Verstappen 132.837, second Alonso 138.866. So for Verstappen, 157 laps total, 86 in the afternoon. Alonso 60 laps totals. Third, Sainz with 133.253, then 72 laps. Fourth was Leclerc, so 133.267, 63 laps. Fifth, Norris, 133.462, 63 laps. Sixth, Hamilton, 133.508, 83 laps. Seventh, Albon, 133.671, 74 laps. Eighth, Show, 133.723, 67 laps. Ninth, Russell, 134, 174, 69 laps. 10th, Sargent, 134.324, 75 laps. Bottom of 10 now. 11th was Hulkenberg, 134.424, 51 laps. 134.558, 71 laps. De Vries, 134.559, 85 laps. Drugovich, 14th, 134.564, 40 laps. 15th, Tsunoda, 134.671, 46 laps. 16th, Gasly, 134.871, 53 laps. 17th, Ocon, 134.871, 53 laps. Piastri, 18th, 134.888, 552 laps. And Magnussen, 135.087, 57 laps. So overall, we can't really learn a whole lot from testing so far today. Obviously, Aston Martin had a couple of reliability issues on their car, so that's not a great start. McLaren as well, apparently the car looks quite difficult, lots of lockups, also some issues with reliability, not ideal. And Red Bull, Verstappen had the most mileage of anyone today. I think even if you add up all of the other drivers combined, teams combined times, I still think, yes, so Mercedes I think would probably be second, so they had 152 total, so 5 less laps than Verstappen, so obviously really solid running from them. And if you look at the top of the times, just like the top 6 times, you've got Red Bull, Aston Martin, 2 Ferraris, a McLaren, and Mercedes. So teams that were near the top last year. But of course it's very difficult and we're not going to really look into them. So that's all for my ramble for testing day 1. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Please leave your comments down below about what you thought of testing day 1. Thank you.